Hey everyone, it's Ryan, and thanks for tuning in. There is no theme music to today's video like Beth did for our last one on the West End. It's just me, and it's some data today. So if you're into that, you want to know a little bit about how the market's doing, I can certainly help you. If you're looking for a playlist by neighborhood from Beth, stay tuned as our 6-part neighborhood series continues. Um, in terms of sales data, today we're going to be looking at the period of May 1st to 17th, which is about half a month in Guelph real estate. And it's interesting because May is the highest volume month of the whole year. And the most transactions happen in this month. It doesn't mean prices go up the most this month or down. It just means that the most transactions happen. People are most motivated to buy. People are most motivated to sell during this month. Second to that is usually June. So we're in the midst of the spring market here in Guelph. If you look back at January to April, it was below average. Tariff concerns, economy concerns, put people on the sidelines. They have started to come back. Certainly in our business, we've noticed they've come back in May. And you're going to find that into June, it's likely going to be the same thing. We measure units per day or sales per day as a measure of how the market is doing. Overall, for the full year in Guelph, we look at about 5 per day as the average, some months being below, January, February, November, December, sometimes March, sometimes October. And we look at months like April, May, June, and September as being the biggest volume months that bring up the average. So this video is a complement to our podcast that we do. Episode 15 talks about the May sales, and our blog, which is bethandryan.ca, that has all the details of the market for you as well. So we're going to take you through the numbers. So these numbers are May 1st to May 17th, sales in the city of Guelph. There are two distinct groups. When we pull data now, it's out of two separate areas. So, or two separate segments, sorry. So we look at the number of detached and semi-detached, so no fees or freehold, as one segment, and condominiums or townhouses or anything with a fee as a secondary segment. So add them together and we get an idea of where we're at. There are 100 sales so far in the period, which would mean that that averages out to about 5.9 per day. And if you take a look at previous Mays to get an idea of where we are, we have been looking at 6 or more for the past number of years. So we're in a situation where we're slightly below last year and previous years, but not much. It's a lot better than the prior months where January and April were far below prior years. We've sort of caught up and people have started to come back to the market in May. Now, of those two segments, 74 of them were detached houses and 26 of them were condos. And if you break them out and look at those two segments individually, you'll find the following. So let me just pull up my spreadsheet here. Okay. So of the 74 detached that sold, $450,000 has been the low for this month. And we sold a house on Powell Street at 1.96 million. That is the high for the month. The overall average for this segment, detached and semi-detached, is $937,000. And on average, they're selling at 98.9% of the last posted price. Now, that one to be taken with a grain of salt. It's just directional. It doesn't mean that every house is selling at that. It just means that of all the houses that go up, how are they doing at the end? Of the homes that sold in the detached segment, 26 of them, or 35%, sold over the asking price. 9 of them sold at the asking price, and 39 sold under the asking price. What does that mean? It simply means that there's a mix in the market. We're seeing this segment in particular, houses between $750,000 and $950,000, really starting to get some attention. And it's starting to get competitive because in the detached segment, there's only so many homes that are available. You can't create more detached homes downtown Guelph because there's no land. And there's so few detached homes and semis being built around town all the new developments seem to be stacked townhouses or condos. So it's classic supply and demand. If there isn't a lot of supply, but people still want to buy those, there's going to be a little bit of competition. And in particular, around the 800,000 mark, it seems to be very competitive right now, and things are selling pretty quick. We're starting to see situations of where holding offers are happening, and this is where it's listed at slightly below market value, and it's like an auction. And at the end of 7 days, the sellers review any and all offers they have at whatever the deadline is, with hopes that the price will get driven up. And we have our own feelings about this, and this is a really effective strategy for sellers when the market is skewed so far to supply and demand where it's in the seller's favor. But as the market balances out and becomes more inventory, more choice for buyers, less buyers want to compete for something when they have other options. So we have our opinions about this strategy. I don't think it's the best one. It does work in some situations, but it's not our go-to or preferred strategy. If you take a look at the condo segment, this is where there's a bit of struggle happening. There were 26 units that have sold. 365,000 was the low. I believe that was in the west end of Guelph, and $1,080,000 on Cardigan Street was the high for a condo. Those are stacked townhouses across from the Youth Music Center. This segment is a little bit different in that only 2 of the 26, or 8%, sold over the asking price. So there's less interest from buyers in competing in this segment. One of them sold at the asking price, but the majority of them, 88%, sold under the asking price. And we have numerous videos and podcasts that talk about this, but this segment has a lot of development happening all around town. And when there's development like that happening, you need a very specific buyer to come in and buy those. A stacked townhouse isn't for everyone. A condo isn't for everyone. And so you need buyers to come in and buy up the stock in order for a market to work efficiently and appropriately. But when you have an imbalance, too much supply, buyers have choice, and the market brings the prices down. So if you're a buyer, it's a great time to look at a condo because they're cheaper, much cheaper in some cases, than they were even a few years ago. There's even some assignment sales. And if you're interested in an assignment sale or a lower price condo, give us a call. We have one. And this segment is very interesting to me, just because the continued development of something that is somewhat struggling already. I have my opinions on the city of Guelph and development of those, developments. If you take a look at trends that are happening in the city, as I mentioned, the segment of 900,000 to 700,000 to 950, let's say, it's still moving pretty quick. It's still competitive. As long as you're priced appropriately and not trying to game the market, your house should move in probably 2 to 3 weeks. In some cases, it's days, depending on where it is and some of the updates you've done. Buyers will still pay a premium for something that has been updated or something that they believe doesn't need as much work. And this is sort of where staging comes in, where you declutter, you make sure that there's definition in the rooms, and buyers can envision themselves and their belongings and their families in a home. So if you have questions on staging, you can also give us a call. Holding offers, as I mentioned, this sort of auction style that works best in a seller's market has started to come back. The Kitchener market loves this strategy, but Guelph market, despite the fact that we're right beside each other, Guelph doesn't do this very much. So it sort of catches people off guard in this market when suddenly there is an offer day or like an auction day. And we're just not as used to it here in Guelph. And as I mentioned, of course, the trend of increased incentives for buyers to get into stacked townhouses, condos. You can find them in the north end of Guelph. You can find them in the east end of Guelph. You can find them in the south end of Guelph. And you can find them in the west end. It's happening everywhere. And builders are getting more creative. They're having realtors in to talk to them about the pros of their developments, to see if they have any interested buyers. They're offering buyer incentives, upgrades, discounts, all of these sorts of things. So if you're interested in getting into the market as a buyer of a condo, give us a call and we can talk to you about some of those developments. That's all for this week. If you have any questions, you can always find us on our website at bethandryan.ca. We have a YouTube channel that you can find there. Our podcast can be found there. Our blog can be found there. You can book an appointment with us, call us, email us. We're around. Have a great week.